A lockdown is lifted and a manhunt is over after a brutal attack on an 82-year-old woman. State police found a man dead tonight near Hastings of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. They believe it is the suspected attacker in the case, Michael Cooley, who they'd been searching for since noon today. News Channel 3's Jared Worksma was there when that search came to an end, and he just spoke with one of Cooley's longtime friends. Jared, any idea here what might have prompted such violence?
Well, Andy, as you said, just got off the phone with a person that says he's been a friend of Cooley's for 30 years since the two of them were in elementary school. He says that he was never a violent person and that he cannot believe that this has happened. He says, in fact, he knew that Cooley was on probation and that he had cut off his tether recently. He says he actually was trying to talk him into turning himself in as recently as Sunday. He says this is the last post, the last text that he got from his friend Michael Cooley. It says, and I'm getting more actually from him as I'm reading this, but it says, my parole officer said if I don't have a place to stay, then she has no choice but to put me in jail. And Mom said I can't stay there no longer and was calling them to come get me. I'm scared. I don't want to go back, but I don't know what else I can do at this point. I'm at someone's house now, but I can only stay here for a couple of days. This is the last he says he heard from his friend until he saw the news today. According to court records, Michael Carl Cooley has a relatively minor criminal history, a few larcenies, fraud, and a drug charge. Certainly nothing that could foreshadow the violence he's suspected of now.
The victim indicated that someone entered her home last night, asked to use the telephone, and then held her captive all night long.
Our sources say the 82-year-old victim was repeatedly assaulted.
There's some indication that he assaulted her with a knife. There's some indication that he was familiar with her. In fact, may have lived in the area.
But Chief Jerry Sarver says the victim has no recollection of the suspect.
She was petrified, obviously, and in a great amount of fear.
Detectives believe Cooley didn't leave her home until just after noon today.
At some point, a neighbor observed this individual in the house, and he took the car and fled.
Police picked up the trail here at the intersection of Yeckley and Tanner Lake Road when someone familiar with Cooley called police.
The suspect apparently made some statements to the person that called the police, and that led us to believe that he may be our suspect.
Then the victim's car was found. State police stepped in and began to search.
Our SWAT team reported a shot fired.
Detective First Lieutenant Chuck Christensen says the team briefly backed off.
A canine was sent in, and that canine came back out without any injuries.
SWAT moved in and found what they believed to be Cooley. All right, now once again, they say they believe it to be Cooley because it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound is what MSP believe at this point, so it is very difficult to get ID at this point. They will be working on that, though, and we hope to have that positive ID sometime tomorrow. There are a number of things we have learned tonight about Michael Cooley that we will be looking into further to try and determine exactly what may have caused this man to snap, if in fact that is the case. Once again, he is still just suspected at this point. Nothing is definitive yet, but as soon as we have more information, we'll be sure to pass it along. For now, we're live outside of Hastings. I'm Jared Worksma, News Channel.